We're looking at the waiver wire for week 7. You see Travis Etienne's going to be out a bit with a hamstring injury. And you see this guy sitting there on your waiver wire named D'Ernest Johnson. And you're wondering, should I pick him up? Should I pick this guy up? Well, I'm going to be your dude. We're going to look at the advanced analytics. We're going to look at the good, the bad, the ugly of the situation, like we do in these deep dives, to see whether or not you need him for your fantasy team. Before we do, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing deep dives all day long, every day on these players. The trending players on the waiver wire, guys getting moved in deals, everything else. Anybody who's trending, we'll try to cover before the week starts. On top of that, we're covering the waiver wire hotter than any other YouTube channel. And on top of that, we look at these matchups to help you set your lineups. Click that button right now. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching you. Do not disappoint him. But Travis Etienne is going to be week to week. A lot of times when they say week to week, it's month to month. So look at that as a thing where you're looking at these running backs and you might be getting some workload out of Tank or maybe D'Ernest Johnson, or maybe there's a trade happening. Who knows? But something's going to happen. Jaguars going to roar here, or what's going to happen? But we're looking at D'Ernest Johnson, and the reason why, he's a trending player. He's a hot topic. There's a lot of questions to be had here. A lot of people are hitting me up, and a lot of people are wondering why. This is why. A lot of people got questions, and a lot of times when you do videos, you just got to answer them for people. That's how you get up there in the rankings. You got to answer people's questions. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to answer your questions on D'Ernest Johnson by just looking at the numbers here and looking at what he's done historically. So right now, we have not done anything on the field for fantasy production. Last week, 6 carries, 28 yards, 4.67 yards per clip. 2 balls caught, 16 yards against the Chicago Bears. And the Bears will always make the game scripts rather weird because they got the rookie quarterback. They've actually been pretty hot this year, but the game scripts have been weird. Up and down games, high-scoring games, a lot of weird things going on in those matchups. But we're looking at his career, not very productive. Throughout his tenure in Cleveland and with Jacksonville, 108 yards in 2023 last year, 67 so far in the season. That's per stat muse. But looking at his fantasy production throughout his career, there's barely any. He has not hit 10 fantasy points yet on his career. That's something to note. That's something to look at. You look at his size, adjusted athleticism, and it ain't looking good there either. We're 200 pounds, and we ain't running that 42 quick. We're not a size-adjusted athlete that's just going to blow up the spreadsheets. But we are a player that's going to find that hole, find that crease, work those leverages, and he's able to stick around in the National Football League. He's able to get with the team, latch on with them for a little bit. He's holding some value. We're an older running back with subpar athleticism, but good vision, good wiggle. Some of the other gritty stuff that you don't see on the spreadsheet is there, but we're looking at this offense. Travis Etienne going to be out for a little bit. That's 230 yards, 56 rushing attempts, zapped at 4.1 yards per clip. I look for Tank Bigsby to get more rumble. I look for that Tank to go. I look for them to gas up the Tank and let him get some work. Let him see what he can do in the passing game a little bit. I know they worked on that in training camp because we cover the clips right here. During his rookie season, during Travis Etienne's rookie season, they covered the passing game really hard with all the running backs. And I know he's capable of doing some things in the passing game because I've seen it in training camp. I've seen it. So maybe they gas him up on some passing routes. D'Ernest Johnson, though, 16 carries, 67 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. So you're getting something rather similar to Travis Etienne back there. Different pop, though, off the step. More like grinding it out. More like using your vision, using your approach to line of scrimmage, hacking those leverages. But he's a good running back for what he is. 35 snaps last week. Outsnapped Tank Bigsby. 56.5% snap share. But we're also looking at the routes ran. He ran 24 routes. He's used more in the passing game. He's good catching the ball out of the backfield. 55.8% route participation rate. So that could leverage for fantasy football numbers. That could leverage for some upside there. That could leverage in some matchups where the Jaguars are behind and they just got to check it down to move the chains, or they just got to pass it even more, and he's out there. That could leverage him out in PPR fantasy production. That could happen if he racks up some catches, but there's a lot of if there. There's a lot of if there because that Tank's going to be rumbling between the tackles getting his opportunity. We got the Patriots coming up. We got the Patriots coming up. You really going to pick up this guy to go up against the Patriots? Are you thinking about that? Well, they're pretty good against running backs, allowing fantasy points. They're pretty good at doing that. They're above average in the last 3 weeks at 41.4%. Over the last 5, 26.8%. On the season, 20.4%. And Zach Moss went off. Zach Charbonnet, Breece Hall, Jordan Mason, Raheem Mostert, Mixon went off. They all scored in double-digit PPR fantasy points. But a lot of them are the lead back, so you might be looking at more Tank Bigsby. But also, he could sneak something. You could get the Johnson surprise coming at you, maybe poking you a little bit. But again, you're looking at this, and there is some possibilities, but there's no certainties. There's none. There is none right there. However, you're looking at Tank Bigsby, the third-round pick that we watched from Auburn, who was productive early in his collegiate career, who can pound it up the gut, who's got good vision, who's been looking good, has had some hot moments this year. He's probably going to rumble. They're probably going to use him a little bit more. He's got that pop too. We've seen that on the field, especially when he builds it up after he hits that second level. And he's been productive this year in spurts. That one game where he scored 25.9 PPR fantasy points, but he's getting a lot of his points off rushing yards. He's not catching the ball much, and he has to score touchdowns to really unravel them fantasy points. That being said, he might get a little more routes per game. He might get a little bit more checkdowns per game. He might get more opportunities around the goal line, because why don't you gas up the tank, diesel it up one time? You don't need him because what the fuck? It's D'Ernest Johnson. But you're hurting, and you're fucked. You're fucked, and you need somebody for your fantasy team. You're hurt at running back. Bye weeks are here, and you just got to pluck somebody up to fill in the gap. And each game, week to week, it's a pick 'em for a lot of these players. You ask start-sit questions, I see it all day long. But honestly, honest to God, it's a pick 'em with some of these players, especially these ancillary players who are seeing enough work where they can pop one. It's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em. It's not guaranteed. There's only possibilities. It's not certainties. The possibilities are increasing to an extent with him. I'm not in love with the player. I'm not in love with the upside here. I'm not going to say he's going to go to the moon. I think from game to game, if you're looking for touches and opportunities, here's just another running back. You pick him. You see what happens. You roll with it. And just know it's just a pick 'em from here on going forward with running backs like this. And you're going to see a lot of them like that. And it's matchup dependent. We got a decent matchup coming up. He might get some workload here. He might get some favorable opportunities. But if the game script does not roll that way, he may not get that. Also, if they're up a good bit, they may use him a little bit more. Because why rust out your tank when you don't need so, when your Etienne is out? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.